one red, pour out the Jameson for ancestors to swig.
You rescue me yet again. You put me first everywhere. You make me feel better than the mother dudes. You rescue me yet again. You put me first everywhere. You make me feel better than the mother dudes.
Thanks for tuning to the Black Fathers Initiative of Cleveland YouTube page. Really appreciate the love. Make sure you click the link in the bio, like, subscribe. You know what to do. Make sure you click that notification bell so when we drop new material. So, you know what we do here. It's all about black empowerment, black love, all black everything. And I pretty much just give my opinion on different views and perspectives about what's going on in the black community, about some of the issues that we need to face so that we can, get past them and, move forward as a community, as a nation. So Tariq Nasheed, I have never interviewed him. I definitely want to interview him, but he's responsible for the movies Hidden Figures. Is that what it's called? God damn it. Hidden Colors. Shit. Hidden Colors, right? And he has a bunch of them too, and they're great DVDs about black history and things that went on in black history and why we're in the position that we are as a black community. So definitely dope. Check out those movies whenever you can get a chance. But with this discussion, he's talking to some real life Karens. Like these ladies, when you hear their conversation, you can kind of tell that their education is very whitewashed. Doesn't sound like they really know the history of America. They don't really know the history of slavery, not just slavery in America. They don't know the history of slavery around the world, as well as nobody ever brings up the fact that when we talk about slavery in America, we're talking about a totally different type of slavery. So I'll speak about that during this, but let's get down to business.
And we haven't really had any conversation on the trans reparations that went through without really any sort of objection.
So who is next?
I believe it's Tariq and then Nico.
Okay, go ahead, Tariq.
How's everybody doing? I'm hearing a lot of different adversarial retorts about reparations, and reparations is not as difficult as many people try to make it seem. Reparations is very simple. It's for the foundational Black Americans, the descendants of the people who built the country from scratch and they were never compensated. Our ancestors created all of the wealth for the country, and that country has been locked in and maldistributed into the dominant society, and we've been locked out of it. And that money has compounded. There was a gentleman who called up earlier saying that after a few generations, generational wealth disappears. That's absolutely not true. After a few generations, that money compounds and it becomes stronger and it becomes bigger. We've been inheriting a debt as foundational Black Americans because we have never, ever, ever been compensated specifically for the wrongs that were done to us. And it's time to get that compensation now. Reparations is a strong topic now because we've tried to play the game where we're going to be polite. We're going to try to play the kumbaya game. And unfortunately, the dominant society has made it a part of the culture to practice anti-Black racism as a part of a culture. So instead of us trying to keep playing nice and play the kumbaya game, we're saying we just need to be compensated so we can do our thing. We need to do the right thing. People say we need to move on. We cannot move on with an inherited debt, and we're still suffering from that debt. So it's only a problem when foundational Black Americans are talking about being compensated for the wrongs that were done to them. When the Asian community, when they got reparations, nobody complained. The Native American community, they get reparations times 10. If you look at government grant programs and government grant websites, there's so many programs and set aside funds earmarked specifically for the red Native American tribes, but there's absolutely nothing earmarked for foundational Black Americans or Black people specifically. Anything that Black people get, it's under the cloak of a minority benefit where all people benefit from it, which is another form of slavery. So we're saying we don't want any more slave deals where if we get something, everybody else has to get a piece of it too, because that's been a trick bag and that keeps us on the bottom rung. So we're saying that we, as foundational Black Americans, for the first time in history, we need to be specifically compensated for a specific wrong that was done to our specific group. And it's not that hard to determine who's a foundational Black American. Most people in this country, they know their background, they know where they're from. We as foundational Black Americans are the only non-immigrant groups in this country. So we understand our background. We have bureaus and we have ways to determine our lineage, to see who was on the census forms back in 1870, all of that. So we know how to determine who's who. We're just getting to the dollar sign. What's going to be the correct dollar sign? I say we start at $20 trillion. That's a start. And when people say that that's going to harm the economy, it's not going to harm the economy because we're giving money to all of these other foreign groups. We're giving money to Ukraine. We're giving money to Afghanistan, and that money doesn't really cycle back into our economy. When we get our reparations, and I'm saying when because it's not an if, we're definitely going to get reparations because it's the right thing to do and justice always prevails. When we get our reparations, that's going to boost the economy because that's going to circulate more money in the economy and that's going to make a better society for everybody. The problem is because of the culture of anti-Black racism, there's a psychic sick benefit that many people in the dominant society gets by thinking about us being deprived. Everything has to be about deprivation for foundational Black Americans. Their status and power is judged by our deprivation. So there has to be a cultural shift where that's not going to be normalized anymore because we're no longer going to participate in that. We're saying that we have to have an equitable society where we produce justice, and justice is compensating the people who have been the most wronged, who have built this country from scratch. That's the right and just thing to do. And I'll land my plane there.
Hey, thank you for sharing and being patient. Can I just ask, because I haven't heard this term before, and apologies for my ignorance, can you explain for the space what do you mean by foundational?
Black.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Black Americans, that means a Black person who is a non-immigrant. We don't use the term African American because that makes us equal to immigrants, and we did not immigrate from Africa. Foundational Black American is a Black American whose ancestors were the foundation of America. We didn't come to America. We built America. We're the only group who actually built it from scratch. So that makes us foundational Black Americans.
Okay, thanks.
What do you mean by built from scratch?
Built from scratch.
Like we explained.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean from scratch?
That means there was no country, there was no United States until Black people built it.
Well, I would have to push back there because Black people did not build this country on their own. That's just not historically accurate.
Right, we did.
And also one other point, if I may, is that very few people that I know in my life have any generational wealth. I have no generational wealth. My best friend has no generational wealth. So this idea that every living American would have just nonstop generational wealth, I also have to say that's just not factual.
Well, not every American have generational wealth in tangible land or money, but the generational wealth comes in whiteness. There's the monetary value to whiteness itself. That's why immigrants came over here with $2 in their pocket, because they understood that their whiteness would get them benefits, privileges, and
He definitely said there was a monetary value to whiteness. I don't know what that monetary value is. It's probably a very, very high number. But I wanted to stop there for a second because there's a couple things that I don't even think you can even have a conversation with women like this about reparations unless you ask them this one question. Do you agree there was wrongs done to blacks? Do you agree there was wrong done to black people in this country? That would have been the first question you would have to ask to open them up to say, because I got to know where you stand on how you feel about black people. You know what I'm saying? So after I started hearing her say stuff like, after, when you say things, because, Tariq Nasheed, I love him. I like to listen to him. I ain't gonna say I love him because I don't know him personally, but I do love the Hidden Colors movies for sure. But yeah, there's a lot of things that he said that I felt like that as we go on, they're not even gonna touch. That's why I'm touching them, because these Karens, they are not gonna go back to any of the valuable things he says. They're gonna pretty much nitpick and, get specific. Like she just said, in history, historically, the black people didn't build this country. Historically, the black people, the slaves kind of did build this country. Historically. So yeah, when you go into specifics, like literally slaves came over here and started building, and I'm quite sure there was people here trying to do shit already, probably building their houses and building their plantations where they know they're going to have their slaves when they get here off the ship. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just crazy talk. But yeah, pretty much black slavery created back then, what we call slavery was to them considered a working class of people. You know what I mean? For them, it was, they just work for us. They work for us, live here, and we feed them whatever the hell we want. It was just like a working class. But I just hate the fact that he didn't, because you obviously see it sounds like these women don't even agree with reparations for real. Like, they don't even believe that you should have reparations. So let's see if they believe in reparations.
Tangibles. A perfect.
Wait. Hold on. Just 1 second, please.
Look, I told you.
I don't really want to, call some whiteness. People didn't come here because of whiteness. Like, this country wasn't founded on anyone's color. And slavery existed in many different lands. I think you were listening when we spoke about it. But slavery happened on many different continents, people of many different colors. And so slaves were never chosen for their skin color. Different people had tribes and factions that sadly sold from all over the world.
And see, at that point in time, when you say that slaves weren't picked by skin color, you're right. They weren't until Europeans got a hold of us and the Africans and came to America. That's when they started picking slaves. Like, oh, you know what? We're going to take these slaves from here, bring them over here, and make them work for us for free. That was something brand new. I'm going to have to, let's see something, because that was something brand new, and I want to see who